Welcome again, everyone, to the sixth episode of After Dark Chat. I'm your host, Chadwick Clark, the Learning and Development Specialist from ACCHO, the African Caribbean Council on HIV/AIDS in Ontario. And today we'll be talking about a very complex and diverse and intersecting topics. And so I want us to stay tuned and get your sleep and stay tuned, all right? I want to talk about a little bit of what is After Dark Chat and what to expect. Now, it is a series that speaks about misconceptions, it speaks about sexuality, HIV, stigma. It also speaks about the social determinants of health. And normally we don't have these conversations about a taboo topic, but this is the space to feel free to have a free, open conversation. So today's episode is entitled Healthy Body, Healthy Spirit. And so we'll be diving into the intersectionalities of faith and health. Navigating life with HIV is sometimes daunting, and so many depend on faith that played a pivotal role in their healthcare. And so today we will be having persons from the faith community, Muslim, Christian. We also have persons on set with lived experience, and we have strategy workers to show the different pockets of this conversation. So without any further ado, I will actually ask my guest on set to introduce themselves, and in no particular order, we will start the introduction.
Hi everyone, my name is Joy. I'm an actual strategy worker with Moya Health Community Services, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy.
Hello everyone, my name is Noel Achiro. I am a strategy worker as well for ACCHO, and I'm based in Oshawa at the ACDR, which is the AIDS Committee of Durham region. I am so honored to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Hi everyone, my name is Jay. I am the long-term survivor of this experience. I contracted AIDS in 1981, so it will be in 30 years now that I've had this experience, and I'm very happy to be here and to share with you my experience.
Thank you, Jay.
Hi everyone, my name is Adebayo Wahab. I'm one of the Imam at Nasrat, Toronto, and I'll be your participant in regards to faith today. Thank you.
Thank you, Imam.
Hi, I'm Richard Brown. I am a pastor in Toronto, Kingsway Community Life Center, and I'm privileged and I'm glad to be here with everybody today.
Thank you so much, Pastor Brown. So now you have an idea of who your panelists are. And so I'll ask for the setting of the stage, and I'll ask our strategy worker, Joy, to define what's healthy body. What does that look like to you?
I think for me, a healthy body is whatever you say it is. I think when we talk about healthy, we have to use person-first language, destigmatizing language. And I think that is often overlooked because when you talk about healthy, people think, oh, you are saying that people with HIV are not healthy or people with certain diseases are not healthy. But an healthy body is really what you say that an healthy body is. It is what it looks like for you. That is what a healthy body is.
So you're saying that a healthy body, somebody living with HIV,
Yes, is a healthy body.
healthy body. Perfect. And how does a healthy spirit look like, Pastor Brown, for you?
So I would say that your spirit is the highest form of who you are. And so no matter what you may be experiencing in your body, you could be experiencing an illness or some type of ailment that does not affect your spirit. Your spirit is the core of who you are. It's your connection. It's the purpose for why you are here. It also gives you the strength to really deal with whatever you're dealing in your body or in your life situations. And so I think a healthy spirit it bases the platform and the foundation for a healthy body.
Thank you. Well said. I'll jump right into the first question, and I think I'll shoot this to Noella. Why is it important to remember that HIV doesn't have any religious boundaries? How does that look for?
Well, HIV doesn't segregate. It doesn't know your race. It doesn't know your gender. It doesn't know your religious affiliations. So because we know it's a medical issue that, attacks the body physically. And so it has nothing to do with, all these other variations of yourself. So it's important to know that stigma is one of the biggest issue that is, bringing down levels of diagnosis, and even just our work that we do to make sure that people are living positive lives, but very happily and not feeling judged. So I would love to air this out there, that it's nothing to do with your religious beliefs. So yeah.
Thank you. Now, Jay, you would have been a long-term survivor, living 30 years with HIV, but then you're also a man of a good religious faith and background. How does that intersect? Still holding faith, still living with HIV for 30 years. How is that journey? How has that journey been for you?
Well, in the beginning, it was very scary. I came from a very strict religious background,
Right.
called Palladian,
Right.
and I was actually designed to be in the ministry.
Right.
And then I came to Canada, and I got involved in the lifestyle, and the lifestyle ended up with me having consequences rather than being HIV.
Nice.
As a result of this experience, I ended up becoming quarter to myself, to the point where I had to go back to see it. So I prayed to God and said, listen, if you help me, I will smarten up and get back on track.
Nice. I like that.
And that was the beginning of me turning my life around, transforming.
Useful. Imam, in your community with Muslims, right? How do you treat someone if one of your congregants will come to you to express that, hey, I am HIV positive, and they be seeking your help or your guidance, as their leader, as their guide who is placed to lead them? How do you navigate that?
Thank you, host. In Islam, so there's a teaching of if you have any any illnesses, as Pastor said and my sister said, healthy body and healthy spirit. So they are both connected.
Right.
So that is exactly the principle that we're going to apply.
Right.
There's a saying in the religion that says, "Likulli da'in dawa." So every disease, there's a cure for it. So, and you have to pursue the cure. Right? So we use the aspects of healthy bodies and with the help of healthy spirit to make sure there's healing. That's exactly the principle that we normally apply. So seek the guidance, and at the same time, the spirit is going to help you to heal physically. And again, that would be the help that would render to the individual. So we encourage them, go and chase the cure, right? Go for treatment, and then the spiritual wise, we elevate the spiritual. So the inner spirit will help you,
So it's a balancing act. So
Exactly.
go and chase the treatment, be on your ARVs, and also ensure that your spirituality is
Connect.
also
Exactly.
connected. Beautiful. So, Pastor Brown, I'll ask you that same question, right? How does it look? I mean, you being on the other side, being a Christian faith leader, right? A member coming to you being HIV positive, how do you navigate that?
I'd navigate it in a holistic way. I think each person is intersectional. And so you are a spirit, you live in a body. And so you have a responsibility to take care of both. Your faith and your spiritual aspect is being taken care of by your devotion to God and so forth. Your health now needs to be given the same type of importance. And so I would encourage them to connect with their health practitioner, to follow the advice of their doctors and so forth, and couple that with prayer and with spiritual devotion.
Perfect. So still maintaining that balance in her.
Absolutely.
Perfect. I think there's a question in the audience that we would like to ask one of the panelists. So I'll turn over to the audience with the first question. Go right ahead. Should he stand? Do you want him to stand? At the right person? Or
You can stay.
Thank you for the session that we are having. I'm asking the question from our, let me say, young man. This is a very young man. So you say over 30 years you are the HIV/AIDS because you want to try back to God. From what you have said, yes, like it's your faith that absolutely take you out of the HIV/AIDS. So the question is now, can faith alone deliver you totally from HIV/AIDS disease?
So thanks for the question. Yes, and my response was no. It wasn't free. When I started out in the process, I started out with the secular healthcare system. I plugged into 410, Sherborne, ACDR, and all the other support systems that existed. And then I realized I had to come back to basics, which is back to my faith, which is where I started out in the first place. And it just reinforced my commitment to focus on taking care of the health that's available through the secular healthcare system.
And the doctor follow up with that? Did the secular healthcare system, did they navigate you to, medication, taking your ARVs, taking them consistently, all of that?
Yes, they provided that service from the very beginning.
And then you realize in taking your medication and stuff, it lower your viral load, that you are now on the right track, healthy track.
Yes, it was working. It started working.
And it still works.
And it's still working.
Okay, perfect.
I've been undetectable for 4 years now.
Beautiful, beautiful. And as Jay mentioned, being undetectable. Joy, do you want to jump in and to explain to us you equal you, as Jay would have stated, being undetectable?
Yes, I would say that undetectable equals untransmittable. It's what we say to explain that when your viral was in low enough, become compatible through sex.
So you're saying Jade being undetectable at this point cannot pass on the virus because of muke equality.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. A question from online here, and I think it is for the faith-based leaders, right? And it reads, how does your faith teaches and shape individuals living with HIV in your congregations? So how does your teachings within your different spaces guides, somebody that's living with HIV? Any one of you want to take that on first?
Yeah. So there's a verse in the Quran that says, "Kul ya ibadiya alladhina asrafu ala anfusihim la taqnatu min rahmatillah." And the meaning is, all you that has transgressed, right? Whatever your situation is, whatever that happened to you, la taqnatu min rahmatillah. Don't lose hope in the mercy of your Maker. Don't ever lose hope. So, and that is the teaching that that we always preach. Don't be afraid, because once you start being afraid, as Jay said, at first it was afraid, and then going back to the basis, help him say, you know what, I'm not afraid anymore, and then it's strengthening the support. So don't lose hope. This is the preaching that we've always preached to whoever that preached to.
Perfect. Thank you. Pastor Bro?
So in Christianity, the message really is it's glad tidings of joy and peace and hope. And so as we journey with each other, we believe that no matter what our situation is, we are living in a fallen world, but God is our hope. And so that is the message that is given to any person, and including those that may have a diagnosis of HIV, is that you can still live your best life, and there is still hope, and there is still a lot of things to be joyful about.
Beautiful. I mean, it sounds so comforting, to hear faith-based leaders speaking from that perspective, that whether the mosque or the church is still a place of refuge and strength, where even in the phase of adversity, just being diagnosed, some people think it's the ending of the world, that the church and the mosque is still there to support you, to say, hey, no, there's still grace, there's still hope. And with medication and with treatment and with care, you live a healthy, prosperous life. Beautiful. Our next person, I think, is more directed to the strategy workers, both of you, both Joy and Noella, actually works in the sector, works in the community with community members. And so, what challenges have you faced, you know, connecting with faith-based leaders, like Imam and Pastor Brown? Are there any challenges reaching their congregation, reaching them to come on board? How is that like, and what would you want to see to improve that experience a little bit more?
I think that it's very interesting to hear them say that, because in reality, it doesn't quite translate. There's a lot of religious stigma. Like, people believe that once they're religious, like, they are not allowed to have HIV. And once they have HIV, it means that they must have done something wrong, or it's like a punishment from God. And so they find it like it causes a disconnect. And also, there's like religious leaders find it very difficult, like talking about things like premarital sex, especially up to young people. Like, they see, because it means that they're encouraging them to participate, to have sex. But the reality is that people are having sex and these things are happening. And I think that it needs to be discussed, and I think that more emphasis needs to be placed on it. Like, the church and the mosque, religious bodies really need to talk about it, and just talk to like from these people, listen to people from the pulpit or from the altar. They want to hear what the perspective of their religious leaders are. So I think there's a big disconnect, and I think that if the church could collaborate with like there may be an interfaith coalition between the church, the mosque, and the ASOs like us, like Moya, like ACDR, we'll be able to get work done.
So you're saying you need more pastors or more imams?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll jump to Noella, hear her perspective to find out, how have that relationship been for you?
Well, the challenge we faced personally as a strategy worker it's with even the packaging of, the education that we are coming to present to the church, other faith organizations. Most of the faith-based organizations, they don't want to be affiliated with HIV, because HIV from back then was looked at as a divine, punishment. Those that were immoral deserve to get HIV as a punishment. So that kind of stigma that is still associated with the church communities specifically, because I'm Christian, I will speak of my Christianity. It is kind of hard to navigate through. And also, I would say that it's been a barrier bringing services like HIV testing and screening to the youth camps in the different Christian, camps that they set up for the youth and teenagers. And we know teenagers are actively, sexual. So when you bring up such topics, they shun them, because maybe, number one, they do not have like the right accurate information, but also what we are doing is really just to prevent than, kind of like encourage sexual behavior or immorality. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think the audience have a next question, so I will ask the audience just to get the microphone. We hand it to you, and then you can stand and go right ahead and ask your question and tell us who you're directing the question to.
I think I'm directing this question to all of you guys, actually. This is a wonderful discussion that we're able to have. And I know you guys kind of touched on it a little bit already, but if you can kind of elaborate on what are the sort of steps that we can take to kind of create long-term partnerships between sort of faith-based communities and ASOs, right? Just to kind of ensure that we're able to like provide ongoing support and education in relation to HIV.
I think sessions like this are a beginning. I think the conversation needs to have. People tend to vilify what they don't understand. And I would agree that in Christianity, there has been a lot of, vilifying of people and their situations because people are afraid of certain things. And I think once you start to talk and realize that we are all people having a human experience, and most people that I have connected with have a desire to be connected with God, with their spiritual side, but feel like they have to jump through hoops. And I think that it would be good for us to collaborate and show that strategy workers and imams and pastors are not against each other, but we're actually collaborating. We started off the conversation talking about healthy body, healthy spirit. And so it takes both. There's a saying, my parents are, from Jamaica, and they say it takes two hands to clap, and so we need both. And I think having the conversation and approaching faith leaders, and I would say as well that, faith leaders want to be approached with respect, because sometimes their defenses are up because they believe that they're being criticized for their faith or for their standard. And so I think if we level the playing ground and we stop pointing fingers and really together come up with a solution, I think it will be better for our society and our communities.
Thank you. Well said. Jay, I bring you right back into the conversation. And somebody with lived experience, we and being a part of the Christian community, have you faced any challenges from, or any part of your journey, your 30-year journey? Have you faced any challenges being a Christian and also living with HIV?
Yes, there have been, but they were minimalized or reduced because of my positive attitude to life.
Okay, so there were challenges.
Yeah.
So you would suggest or recommend to persons who are upbeat and HIV positive, one of the biggest ways to keep focus on positive is just having a positive outlook.
Yes, it's true. The key here is to seek the truth. Once you know the truth, then the decision will be made.
And truth comes with acceptance and knowing that, yes, I am HIV positive. These are the steps that I need to do, and just having a positive spirit complementing that.
That would be one direction.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because I guess you could have faith, right? But then, as our father and Imam said, we also need to take practical steps.
Yeah.
And I think you would have said that too. Like you had thought the different earstones, and you would have, started getting treatment, starting taking care of yourself, right?
But it still leaves a big vacuum on the bottle, you see. And that's where the faith came into play.
Because the other thing
Created hope,
right?
and love.
You need to get to that place to know that, okay, these medications will work, and then I'll still live a healthy life. And so you had to have that peace of mind with having faith and being a part of your Christian community.
Yes, I would share and agree with that.
Okay. All right, we have a question online. I think this is for the strategy workers, and it says, why is it sometimes hard? Hold on. Again, go again with that question. All right, so again, scrap that one. I think I had asked it already. All right. Here we go. No, I want to hear from you again, where it says, how can faith leaders work much closer with you? I know we spoke it more broad and more collective, but in your region, in Durham, right? What initiative your organization have started, and what are some of the steps you'd like the faith-based leader within your region to take to help you make working with the community members a little bit easier?
So working with ACDR, we've reached out to a few churches and mosques, And one of the initiatives that I really lead with is, speaking to the faith leaders to kind of like integrate HIV preventive messages when they're doing the already existing counseling that they do, during premarital, counseling. They can incorporate that and say, these are some of the prevention methods and things like that. And another thing is for faith-based organizations that are open to training, we are willing to train them, and we usually do trainings and kind of like send community members that will continue doing the work that we are doing, even though we are not able to be there every time. So they're able to take up that independent role. And maybe another way is usually kind of like still distribute like condoms, but we put them in safer areas where people can not be shy to like access and just for pick them, maybe at the parking lots and things like that,
Nice, creative. I like that. Imam, will follow up with something that Noella said. How do you have that conversation with persons in your community about condom, about self-testing kit, about ARVs? Like, do you have those conversations? And I mean, if you guys do, how does that look?
So I think that this is one of the gap that Lisa mentioned that we have to see more faith body to take kind of play. To be honest, it is not something that is in this call.
Okay.
Right. This is being honest, right? But believe it or not, it is something that is needed. It's needed. All right. So these are one of those shy topics that we always, shy away from, and we don't want to have the conversation, right? I think, if a faith-based community and the leaders, it's going to be tough a little bit, but at least if we let the congregation, our member know that, listen, this is important. We have to have this conversation, because there's a say that says, well, fitness akbaru min al-qatl, because when the consequences comes, it's even bigger. So this is the time to say, and it's not in the means of, it's not in the form of encouraging, but preventing. We're preventing. So we need to find a way to balance that perspective of, are we encouraging or are we preventing? And then we have to implement these thoughts.
Okay, perfect. Pastor Brown, as a Christian pastor, I know that premarital counseling is done. During premarital counseling, do we talk about testing among before getting married? Do we talk about if you are positive but you're undetectable? Do you still say, okay, it's still fine to be married because you exist? Does these conversations actually come up in premarital counseling?
I think it's based on the experience and awareness of the pastor or the Christian counselor. For myself, because I'm bivocational, so I also work in community as an addictions counselor and mental health counselor. My awareness is open, and so when I, am taking a couple through premarital counseling, we will talk about, past sexual experiences, and I do encourage each person to ensure that they have been tested so that they know what they're entering into this new relationship with, what challenges there may be or so forth. And I feel very comfortable with doing that. And in talking with some of my other colleagues, I encourage them as well that, when you're doing counseling, to look at all aspects of that person's life and, the marriage that they're going into, so that they have the greatest chance of having a successful marriage. A successful marriage is not a problem-free marriage. And so, if it has come about that, one person is positive or so forth, then we look at how do we navigate that? What are the next steps?
Right, beautiful. And it is so great to hear different perspectives, because Imam said, hey, we're not really having the conversation too much, but he actually agrees that it is a conversation that needs to be had. While Pastor Brown, on the other hand, is saying that, hey, he being in the community and knowing referrals and knowing about the preventative method, that he was actually suggest these things to his congregation, or more so doing premarital counseling. And so I think we will move to the audience to ask the next question from the audience. So you have the mic, they're handing the back, extreme back. I see you can stand so you can see and also hear you.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here to listen to the paradigm shift of these discussions nowadays. My question is that how does my faith influence the access to preventive services to HIV, especially when I'm already in a committed relationship?
Hopeful twister. So she's in a relationship, a committed relationship, but she needs access to preventative method.
How does your faith
Yeah,
How that they influence
okay, so I would say
the preventive measures, the families?
I think faith always pushes us to be honest and to have a level of transparency. And I think that if there is knowledge within yourself that you need to be tested, I don't see faith as preventing that. I actually see faith as supporting that. And we talk about in Christian circles conviction. I believe that you will be convicted to do what is right, to go and be tested and so forth, or to speak to, your faith leader, your pastor, your imam, whatever the case may be. And so again, for me, and maybe some would say I'm talking for myself, because my co-host will say that has not been their experience in dealing with faith leaders. And so to some extent, I can only speak from my perspective, is that I would definitely encourage you as a faith leader to take preventative measures, to know your status and so forth, and be honest, especially being in, I think you would mention being in a relationship. The worth and the strength of any relationship is honesty and transparency.
Imam, the ideal world, being a Muslim, is that you're married and you're committed to your partner, correct? And so, in the ideal world, we would need to use condoms, or we would want to have the tests, right? Because that's the perfect world, right? But John mentioned reality doesn't really matches up with the perfect world, and so just following up on that question that our community member asked, how easy would it be for one of your members to come and to, confide in you that they are in a committed relationship, but they kind of feel that maybe their partner is stepping out. And so she wants to protect herself. And so come to you for advice. Is a case where that either I need to use condom or I need to go on PrEP. What would be, or even to test herself using self-testing kits, what would be your suggestion with she figuring out that, hey, maybe her partner isn't be cheating and she needs to take these steps to protect her body? How would you handle such a conversation?
Yeah, so yes, for sure, each and every individual, you're responsible for your body and soul. So protecting your body is strongly it's a strong teaching in Islam. Ku anfusakum wa alaykum. So you have to make sure you protect your body. It is your body. So I will encourage the individual to go and take all the precautions. And then, pastor and imam, we are like a doctor, patient comes. Yes, they have to gain the trust. And then they come to you, and they expect our guidance. So what I suggest to the individual, yes, go and utilize all the resources, test yourself, protect yourself, because again, you're protected. It's better than curing. So this would be my advice.
Thank you. Jay, I want to ask you another question. What initiatives would you want to see from faith-based leaders, from the pastors, from the imams, as it relates to the issues surrounding HIV? I mean, what could have been done a little bit better when you maybe would have just found out, maybe from your faith-based community? Yes.
Oh, well, a more empathetic approach. The because the key of the key of life is love, and that's what we are selling through our Christian faith. I use the word sell because we have to share that and convince people to do that. See, and so that's what I believe is necessary.
Empathy and love.
Empathy and love. Yeah.
Do you think you guys show empathy and love? To
Yes, but we are dealing with a community, a congregation. So it takes time to convince people. When we do preach, we try to sell the love. We try to sell the empathy.
Right.
Yes, I agree with Gary. Yes, and this is true. So we need to put the more empathy and more love. And as a faith leader, this is what a faith leader will advocate. But to convince others as a minister is, you have to make sure we sell it to our community, and then we are all on the same page.
I'd like to jump in there. I agree 100% that love and empathy is needed, but I would also challenge, and I challenge my congregation even as I challenge myself, that also accountability is also needed. And I think faith is there to direct you and to give you a platform or a pathway of how to live and how to live healthy. And so I think as well that the church, or Islam, whatever religious guide that you subscribe to, would also want to hold the person accountable to living their best life and to making decisions that are healthy for them and for their future. Just as you would go to your doctor and your doctor would tell you, cut out fat. That's too high in cholesterol. That is not received when our doctors talk to us like that. It's not received as a criticism or discriminating. The doctor is actually concerned about your health and knows that if you continue down this path, that it's not going to be good for you in a health perspective. And so what I'm saying, that from a spiritual basis as well, that we absolutely must provide empathy and love. That is the message of Christianity, and I believe it would be the message of Islam, but there's also the message of accountability.
Thank you so much, Pastor Brown, for that. Joy, I put you in here. What are some of the strategies that have been effective, to engaging faith-based leaders as it relates to HIV prevention and care, especially coming from Moya?
I think for us at Moya, we already have a newcomers and for Muslim session as well as for Muslim women, because as Pastor Brown mentioned, accountability, but as I said earlier also, the reality doesn't match. So I think that what we need to do is that I think that the church and the mosque or whatever religious affiliation needs to preach the message of love and acceptance. And I think this acceptance also has to do, like, regardless of your sexuality, regardless of I think we tend to shy away from topics like this, regardless of your HIV status. It can feel a bit punitive, like as if we are punishing you, but people are born with HIV. Like, are we saying that they deserve to have HIV at birth? Are we saying that so people maybe by blood transfusion and they got it that way? Are we saying that they are being punished for a crime that they don't know anything about? So I think that we need to there needs to be like coalition between ASOs like Moya and faith-based organizations. There has to be, like Noel said earlier, testing maybe at youth church and youth camps. Like actually, I know actually as a campaign, it takes courage. Like, it really does take courage. And I think that the campaigns like that, linking lives to care, just meeting people and just like, yes, that's, I don't know. Yes, that connection, yes. Because I feel like a lot of people would listen more if they see that their faith-based organizations are talking about these topics. It makes them sit up and like listen to us, because you're just saying these things and it feels like you're just speaking into the void sometimes. But like, if you want, for actually for African, Caribbean, and Black communities, we are religious people. As Black people, we're very like, we listen to, as Pastor Brown said, the same way we listen to our doctors, we also listen to our faith leaders. Yes. So I think that there needs to be, there also needs to be a creation of like materials that specifically for faith-based people who are like religious. The same way we have resources for Black people who use drugs, the same way we have resources, there should be tailored resources as well for people who are, for example, maybe taking preventative care, who are going through premarital counseling, who are young people between 18 and 29. Okay, so we don't say, oh, we're encouraging teenagers to have sex. Like things like this, I think that like they need to be talked about.
Yeah, and to add on that as well, I would obviously encourage a collaboration with the faith-based organizations in a way that if we are holding workshops, let's say like a campaign, for example, World AIDS Day, we would love to see, you know, the faith-based leaders coming and taking part, because when they are followers, I don't want to use the word followers, but that's the best thing I can say. When their followers see them, the leaders participating in such, you know, essential campaigns, then they will, you know, follow suit and participate and not just shun away from, you know, some of the messages and campaigns where they think it's kind of like a way to your persecution, you know. And then also just having the regular, you know, attendance of, you know, different events. If we respect each other's work, that would be great, and not just showing up and disappearing for like a couple of years, but just the constant presence of having health workers, strategy workers within the church community or the mosque, you know, that is very pivotal to the members within the community. Yeah.
So you're saying we just need more people like Imam and Pastor Brown.
Yeah, involved. Yes.
I'm also saying that moves like this also reduce religious stigma, especially there's a lot of stigma around HIV, especially around religious people. So we need like people like you to talk about these things, yes, so that people can listen more and perhaps not judge so harshly.
And if you can incorporate some of these messages in your sermons, and you know, because you have a large audience that you reach, and that is a very big thing that, you know, some of us strategy workers had full numbers like that. That's a very big way of, you know, creating more awareness and just bringing that interconnectedness, which we would love to see.
Thank you, guys. To be honest, this session is really, you know, gave me a lot of thought.
Ideas.
Right. So when I got invited, I already have series of scheduled talk that I'm going to do. Right. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. This is a topic that I've never talked about. So I preach on Fridays, right, on Jumu'ah, and I preach on Sundays when we have conversation. So I already planned with the help of, you know, getting invited to this talk. I already planned series of, okay, for a couple of weeks, I have to talk about this. So it's really, thank you guys. Really, thank you.
I want to add that I think as a Christian, you know, I follow the life of Jesus Christ, and he challenged religious norms and was criticized for it. And I think that, you know, the church needs to be challenged, and, you know, and to challenge religious norms. Even though he challenged religious norms, he never lost his connection or his faith with God. And so that's what we attempt to do. I can proudly say that in my congregation, we have opened the doors to conversations like this. We actually had a session on a Sunday. We have certain months that are designated to different topics, and one was Health Month. And we had members of ACCHO come in and actually do testing in the church. And I say that to say this, that I had heard, sacrilege, this is wrong, and from some of my other colleagues, but I'm glad to report that they're now coming around to that, because people continue to live, people continue to make decisions, and we've got to continue to show God's love and God's empathy and God's acceptance. And I think that is the major word. Everybody wants to be accepted, and everybody has a right to be accepted, no matter what life has presented to them or what choices they have made. And so we continue to preach that.
Thank you so much, Pastor Ron, and thank you for, being on board, and helping us. As we wrap up, I want to ask a final question to each of you panelists here, and I want us to think about it, right? Because we had a very enriched conversation. And so I start with you, Joy. How does faith, compassion, forgiveness, HIV, how does that come together to support HIV awareness and care in the community that you serve?
I think for us at Moya, we always encourage, like Jay said earlier, from tracing a healthy spirit, you also need to trace a healthy body, and all of these things are interconnected. There's an intersection between being like, even though you're chasing going after your Jamaica, going to church and all of that, also don't ignore preventative methods like using condoms. My people have a saying that before your eyes see evil, you have to make sure he knows what I'm talking about. You have to make sure. Yes, before your eyes see evil, you have to make sure that you do everything that is possible to make sure that you don't see that evil. So that is not to say that HIV is evil or it's a punishment or something like that. No, but what I'm saying is that you need to in chasing faith and compassion, in chasing religion, in chasing lawmaker, following all of that steps, you also chase a healthy body, apply preventative methods, you equals you. If you think that you have been exposed, take PrEP. For there's also PrEP as well. There's doxy PrEP now for STIs. Just make sure that there's it's a balancing act between religion and faith. And I think that if you do all of that, I will achieve a healthy body and a healthy spirit.
Thank you so much, Joy. I'll ask Pastor Brown that same question. Being a faith-based leader, how does faith, compassion, forgiveness, HIV, how does all of that intersect to still support HIV awareness and care in your community?
For me, I boil it down to how does faith intersect when I have the flu? I'm going to go get Neocitran, or I'm going to, take Tylenol, and it's the same intersection. I have faith, I'm going to pray, God, heal me of this flu, and then I'm going to take some cough syrup.
Right.
And so I think it's really looking at it the same way that HIV is not against your faith, in the same way that the flu or COVID-19 is not against your faith. It's an issue. It's something that we have to deal with. It doesn't stop you from having faith, and taking prevention doesn't stop you from having faith. Just like if you take cough syrup for a cold and you come to church, I'm not going to preach on you and say you took, preventative measures not to get a cold. And that's my perspective. It's really looking at the intersectionality of what we deal with and how faith actually comes to strengthen who we are.
Noella, I will ask you that final question too. being a strategy worker, interacting with community members, how does faith, compassion, forgiveness, and HIV, how does all of that work together to support the awareness and care in the community that you serve?
Okay, so at ACDR, one of our core values is having compassion and love. And so all of us workers at the agency, we work with clients who are either at risk, highly at risk of HIV or contracting HIV, or those actually affected by it. So we provide different supports, and even though everyone has a different faith, I know that the work that we do and their beliefs usually bring us together with a compassion. But also, if we look at awareness, awareness starts with speaking about, your sexual habits, your challenges, what's going on, mental health. So we stay connected by, checking in on each other and calling the community members to make sure they are fine. It's all based around compassion. And those that, are ill, we actually do pay them visits at home or bring the services that we offer to them from right where they are. So I'm really grateful being a part of this discussion, because it's helped me see the things I have been doing practically and knowing that they pay off, and it's just an extension of the care that, is my purpose. Personally, I'm a nurse, and so it's my calling to, serve people. So I may not be a pastor, but I do it in a medical way, and I enjoy doing it because of the compassion in my heart. So thank you.
Thank you, Noella, and thank you on behalf of everybody that we serve. Thank you so much. Jay, I'll ask you that same question. With somebody living with HIV for over 30 years, being of the faith, you spoke about compassion, you spoke about love, and I think some of those were your driving factors to still keep positive 30 years after and continue to go in the next 30 years. And so what message would you send to persons who are watching us online, who are of faith, who are HIV positive? What's a message that you would send to them?
Well, never give up. That's it. However, to really solve the problem, you have to understand what it is. So the key is to plug in to the network that's been established, but don't forget to include your spiritual reality.
Beautiful.
That is the foundation.
Beautiful. Keep that balance. Thank you so much, Jay. Imam, we'll close with you, and we'll ask you the same question. In your congregation, how does faith, compassion, love, hope intertwines with supporting HIV awareness here in the community that we serve?
Yeah, love is number one, right? So the victim and the community, we both need to share love. As Jay mentioned, that his attitude towards, life, that will help others around you to shape their perspective.
What a night it has been. It has been an enriched discussion, and I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out to come here and to share your perspective about a healthy body, healthy spirit. How does faith and HIV intertwine? And I think that our live audience and or persons online, that they have left this conversation way more enriched and knowledgeable than how they came. And so I just want to note that the views and opinions expressed are those of the participants and not necessarily reflecting the views or position of ACCHO. ACCHO will be looking at treatment and care in our Linking Lives to Care campaign. We're on all our social media platforms, on Instagram, on YouTube, on IG, on LinkedIn. We are all there, so just keep your eyes and your ears out for the different materials that we will be pushing out there. I would also want to thank our live audience. I want you to put your hands together and just clap yourself. I also want to do a big shout out to Team ACCHO who is behind the scenes. You have Nananju, you have Tuvel, you have Etsy. Without them, I could not have done this. And of course, for the production team, right? But they had to get a sword on, our girl. Thank you. And again, for those who tuned on, who was a part of the conversation, respect, one love, and thank you so much again for joining the 5th episode of After Dark Chat. And stay tuned for the 6th episode. Have yourself a good one.